Amazing! This is a physical copy of Toaster Brains, the first official Eddsworld book. First published on the 25th of May 2010, it is a collection of nearly 100 comic strips drawn up by the creator of Eddsworld himself. You may have seen these before. Eddsworld.co.uk posts these 3 to 4 panel comics from time to time. Setup, beat, punchline, it is comedy in its purest form. They've been doing this for years, and Toaster Brains is a collection of some of the earlier ones, starting with number 20 and ending with number 112. Clearly, the publishing world was not ready for comic number 3. The book also contains guest comics from contributors like Hot Diggity Demon, Psychosis 91, Pull to Vorder, and even Tord. This has to be one of the most iconic pieces of Eddsworld merchandising ever created, but many of you may not know that it is still in print, more than a decade after it was first published. It costs about 15 quid for the paperback, not including shipping, or you can buy a digital ebook version for less than £6. I can't speak for the reading experience of the ebook, especially when almost all the comics are available for free online, so really what's the point? But as for the physical book, it really feels like something special. The book is nice and compact, the paper is very high quality, the panels are well formatted, and I love looking at the stuff at the back. Those exclusive guest comics and random illustrations. And as for the comics themselves, well, they're obviously classics. Some of them have not aged well, and the humour is definitely not always to my liking, but there are some real gems in this collection. I hadn't read most of them before buying the book, but they feel like they were made for a format like this. At a glance, it may all seem kind of pointless, but I am so happy that this book exists. I actually own a couple of books that have most of their content available for free online. The Anthropocene Reviewed by John Green, and XKCD What If by Randall Munro. In theory, I could get the same reading experience for free in one form or another, but for the most part, I prefer reading them like this. There's something so special about having those words and illustrations bound together like this, yours to own without the need for an internet connection or a screen shining into your face. I picked up this book a few years ago at an airport, completely on a whim, right before boarding a flight to a holiday where I knew I wouldn't have any access to the internet for a week. I'd never even heard of XKCD up until that point, but it kept me thoroughly entertained throughout the entire trip. Even today, I'd be willing to call it one of my favourite books, and I still don't keep up with XKCD. I don't read nearly as much as I would like to, but I am trying to read more, as we all should aspire to do. There are so many fantastic books out there just waiting to be read, but with entertainment now available in 30-second chunks, it's easy to develop a short attention span. Don't get me wrong, a lot of the content on platforms like YouTube is amazing, but when words on a page grab your attention and make you care about characters that you create in your own head, it's truly something very special. Toaster Brains is not high art, it's not some big novel that you can get really invested in. Most of these comics won't hold your attention much longer than a TikTok, but it is a reminder that no matter how far technology progresses, we will always have the time-honoured format of traditional book publishing. So that if one day the world's internet goes down, we will still have these Eddsworld comics to read in this one little green book. Did I just say that there was only one book? I must be mistaken. This is Toaster Brains 2, the second official Eddsworld book. Just like its predecessor, Toaster Brains 2 was a comic strip collection, but this one was an exclusive limited edition publication, available only to the most generous of benefactors. As part of the Eddsworld Legacy fundraiser, backers would receive a number of perks for their donations, ranging from something small like a poster to something more unique like a cameo within the show based on how much money they donated. By donating no less than $100, you would receive this book along with a poster, a wristband, and some other goodies. While the original Toaster Brains featured about 90 of Ed's original comics, this one was to feature the latest 80+ comics that had been released since then, as well as sketches, concept art, and lots more. The wiki says that it featured all the comics from 190 onwards, but looking at the teaser images and the timeline, it seems much more likely that the book would actually conclude at comic 190, starting where the original left off. If you count up all the people who donated enough money to receive the book, there are less than 200 copies of Toaster Brains 2 in existence, making it incredibly hard to get your hands on. I've heard people say that the book was given away in limited quantities at a convention, but I can't find any hard evidence of that. There are also stories of copies finding their way onto eBay, but the book still isn't being published and is not widely available like the first one currently is. There was a time when this book was considered to be lost media, a type of media that was published but later made inaccessible to the general public. I remember when this low quality JPEG was like the only real evidence that this thing released, but as of recent, this once lost media has been found. A person called Yellowfellow came forward with a copy and it's now been archived, so to speak. I'm not going to go into much detail on that because I don't want to be seen as condoning piracy. Piracy is a crime, do not accept it. I am usually all for this sort of preservation in the right context, but copyright law is like the definition of chaotic good for creatives and archivists, and I do not want to tangle with it any more than I absolutely have to at this point. Just know that, as with the first Toaster Brains book, you're not missing out on much you can't get on Eddsworld's website, and the whole point of the book is to have a physical copy in your hands. If by some miracle Toaster Brains 2 is made available to read legally again, then I can guarantee you that I'll be buying a copy for my collection. Fingers crossed it won't cost $100 next time. There have been talks of this book potentially getting a wide release or even getting repackaged with the original Toaster Brains to create one giant omnibus of all the classic Eddsworld comics. But as with any project like this, the future of the book is uncertain and messy and complicated. I'm obviously not a published author, but I can imagine that the process is very time consuming and requires a lot of money. Even if they were to go all digital with their release, a lot of the comics in the book were created by guest artists, and publishing those may require permission from the artists and a deal regarding royalties, like I say, messy and complicated. So for full clarity, this book is and always has been available for purchase online. This book is ultra rare and unavailable to purchase brand new anywhere. Honestly, for books that are so simple, they have such an interesting history. Much like Eddsworld itself, even the most simple creations often have years of history and context behind them. Just like a fractal, the closer you look, the more you learn, the more interesting it gets.